A gigantic flying pyramid was filmed above the Pentagon. Oh.
Section 51.
Section 51.
Section 51.
Hi friends, this is me, Blackdevil, and today we are talking about the flying pyramid. 1 week ago, one video was posted by a certain Richard Wilson, where he apparently managed to capture video on the night of December 19, a giant pyramid flying over the Pentagon in Washington. Incredible! Let's start from the postulate that this video is completely authentic. For the moment, this video brings to us a lot of questions, but come back to the origin of this type of UFO. If you have not yet seen this amazing video, I invite you to go watch on YouTube. This is not the first time that a phenomenon of this kind has been postponed. It is indeed very intriguing. So a lot of questions come into my mind. Pyramid? So this is a UFO of Egyptian origin? In the USA? Why above the Pentagon? Is there no reaction from the US Air Force? It used a radar camouflage, but not optical? Who are the residents of this ship? What can they look like? So frequently, the first explanation, rational, for this kind of thing is a weather balloon. That kind of things. But this size, around 500 diameter, for a weather balloon, this is quite huge. And with corners. I never saw a weather balloon with corners. The Pyramid UFOs. There is a theory from Dr. Ala Shaheen, head of the archaeology department at Cairo University, and he hypothesized that aliens might have helped build pyramids in Giza. He says that it would have been quite possible for aliens to help the Egyptian people build the oldest pyramid, such as the pyramids of Giza. He continues then on a question related to the internal structure of the pyramids, that there is something inside the pyramid that is not of this world. There is another case. The ISIS project. It came from the archive of the ex-USSR Secret Service. This is completely top secret. The KGB discovered in the 1960s a tomb in Egypt near Lahoun Pyramid, near the 12th dynasty of Sesostris. This tomb contains the remains of an extraterrestrial creature dead 10,000 years before Christ. A mysterious creature between 150 and 160 centimeters long. Some people by these KGB archives provide interesting support for Dr. Ala Shaheen's theory. Many scientists make a point. The Egyptians at that time were unable to build a building of this size with the technologies they had. Indeed, the seventh wonder of the world is spread over 5 hectares. It could contain the Vatican or 80 copies of the Triumph Arch in Paris, with its 146.49 meter high and 230 meter long sides, in addition to its XXL dimensions. Oh my god! The way the pyramid was erected questions. According to those who question the work of archaeologists, how heavy blocks of limestone and granite of 2.5 tons were transported, or were they hoisted and arranged? A certain Yuri Vladimir, presented as an astronomer, develops this extraterrestrial hypothesis. When I began my research in Giza, I was struck by the fact that Whoever built the pyramids could determine longitude and latitude. This is fantastic since the technology for calculating longitude was not invented until the 17th century. What is even more amazing is that the pyramids are visible from a very high altitude, from space and even from the moon! Their shape is one of the most appropriate for radar reflection. For those reasons, Yuri Vladimir told the KGB that the Egyptian pyramids were built potentially for the navigation of extraterrestrial explorers. In fact, some ancient Egyptian writings speak of the opening sky and bright lights coming to teach them technology and give them wisdom. Many sculptures and symbols look like strange flying objects that are difficult to identify or define. Those symbols are accompanied by humanoid forms that do not make us think of human forms, but rather of being from another world. Based on this observation, we can only think that it is possible that the Egyptians were helped by extraterrestrials to build the Great Pyramid and those monuments, and that they have adopted these solid and durable construction techniques. Ancient Egyptian legends speak of Tebzepi, mean the first time. It is an age when the gods of heaven return to the earth and rise from the land of mud and water. They are supposed to fly in the air aboard boats and bring laws and wisdom to man through a royal lineage of Pharaoh. And of course, all of this was rejected when Christianity appeared. Keep in mind that the gods were the one and only religion there was. No other contradictory beliefs. Why? Well, because it was a fact. No faith in ancient Mesopotamia, which dates back to around 4000 BC. There was a fertile region called Sumer and a people we call Sumerians. These people, like the Egyptians, were very advanced for their age. They had advanced knowledge in mathematics and architecture and created an interesting art that still exists today. Because of some things they left behind, we know that the Sumerians worshipped gods they called the Anunnaki. And not only the Sumerians, apparently other cultures in Mesopotamia. Nowadays, the Anunnaki are at the center of many theories about the fact that they are the oldest aliens to have stepped on our land. This comes largely from the work of one guy, Zecharia Sitchin. In his books, Zecharia Sitchin exposes his theories of the origin of humanity, based on his personal but controversial translation of cuneiform tablets from the pre-Babylon era. He attributes the creation of humanity to the Anunnaki, Sumerian deities he presents as extraterrestrial who came to Earth during prehistory, were deified by the first men. Mesopotamia would have been the first land colony of these visitors from space. Sitchin believed that the Anunnaki came from Nibiru, a ruler of the sun. The Anunnaki who came to Earth were extraterrestrial of the working class who roamed the world. When they rebelled against the bad working conditions, the decision was made to genetically modify the inhabitants of our planet, the prehistoric humans, Homo erectus, by incorporating the Anunnaki DNA and creating a new kind of slave. In a blink of an eye, Homo sapiens was born. Hey, it's us! As you can probably imagine, many have discovered Sitchin's revelation and his interpretation of ancient texts, but others support his work and found more evidence to support him. Let's go back to the Egyptian. All of that doesn't make you think of a fairly well-known movie? Stargate! Released in 1994, Roland Emmerich's excellent film is one of the first films of his decade to carefully present the basic ingredients of the global UFO subculture: secret, government, reverse engineering of extraterrestrial technology, a devilish extraterrestrial from a dying world, and ancient astronaut linked with Egyptians' deities. The film's plot concerns a 10,000-year-old tombstone discovered in Egypt in 1928 and currently under lock and key in a US military installation, clearly inspired by the NORAD Cheyenne Mountain Complex. The linguist Daniel Jackson, alias James Spader, is tasked by the project managers to decipher the glyphs and symbols that adorn the artifact and deduce the existence of a Stargate, a device capable of forming a wormhole for the cosmic explorers. In the film, the alien ship is obviously a pyramid, and a pyramid that lands on another pyramid as landing station. Oh my god! But how can it fly? Of course, we can imagine everything. How do the aliens to levitate such huge objects and repel the laws of physics? Okay, there is something. In physical review letters, Bin Liu and colleagues from New York University present the result of experiments on an inanimate pyramid flyer, or some sort of insect. It showed that the pyramids could hover in a stream of air. Instead of letting the flyer move its parts, they used a subwoofer to create vertical oscillations in a column of air. By varying the center of mass of the insect, the team observed variation in stability and hovering for various configurations. It now presents a complete study of flight behavior in correlation with the flyer's anatomy. Although the bug is far from a realistic analogy for an insect, they were still able to test the in-flight stability capability in various conditions. This suggests that with extremely light materials and a hollow interior, it would be possible to fly a pyramidal object while using a centrifugal force from which the flying pyramid rotates on itself. Obviously, they have their own thing. But who are they? Who may be at the helm of this technology? What can they look like? Let's go back to what we discovered in Egypt. Not long ago, a new genetic study suggests that the pharaohs of ancient Egypt were hybrid extraterrestrial. Stuart Fleischmann, assistant professor of comparative genomics at the Swiss Institute in Cairo, and his team recently published the result of a 7-year study that mapped the genome of 9 ancient Egyptian pharaohs. If it turns out to be correct, the results could potentially change the history books of the world. Fleischmann and his team have submitted the valuable samples of all DNA to a process called PCR, polymerase chain reaction. In the field of molecular biology, this technique is often used to replicate and amplify a single copy of a piece of DNA, providing researchers with a clear picture of someone's genetic fingerprint. 8 out of 9 samples showed interesting but commonplace results. The 9th sample belonged to Akhenaton, the enigmatic feminist and revolutionary figure of the 14th century BC, and father of Tutankhamun. A small piece of dry brain tissue was the source of the DNA sample, and the test was repeated using bone tissue, but the same results were obtained. One of the culprits is a gene called CXPAC5, which is responsible for the growth of the cortex. The anomaly is visible in the image. It appears that this increased activity in Akhenaton's genome suggests that he had a much larger cranial capacity than average. But what human mutation would have allowed the brain to grow so much? We have not yet discovered such a technique despite years of scientific advance in genetics. Does this 3,300-year-old proof point to a genetic manipulation in antiquity? Was it the work of advanced extraterrestrial beings? Is Egyptian mythology more than just a collection of allegorical fables? Does this hypothesis prove that Akhenaton, one of the most mysterious Egyptian pharaohs, was the subject of a genetic modification during his life? If proven, this would prove the theory's claims that ancient aliens astronauts visit the Egyptian civilization and lived on the banks of the Nile. Another interesting proof that supports this hypothesis. This image shows two microscopic photographs of bone tissue taken from the skull of Akhenaton and another mummy of the same age. The bone tissue on the left is much denser and fundamentally different on a macroscopic scale. Could this increase in skull bone resistance be an indicator of increased brain development? If this study is correct, it will bring about an unprecedented paradigm shift. If extraterrestrials were actively involved in the lives of powerful individuals thousands of years ago, will that mean they will come back? Or maybe they have never left, or are already back? But the most interesting aspect will be the existence of individuals, the direct descendant of the Egyptian royal lineage, who owns the extraterrestrial genes implanted in the genome of their ancestors. And here we are, friends. Try to imagine that the inhabitants of this ship could look like that. It makes a little bit of pinch. After, if they have a super important meeting with officials of Pentagons, well, we hope they are in talk about how to organize and formalize their return to Earth in a clean and jovial way. And of course, friends, we would like to know what you think. Have extraterrestrials built the pyramids? Are the extraterrestrials still above the Pentagon? Do they work with soldiers? Are they cool? Are we getting closer to a future official announcement? You are free to react in comments. Obviously, you have to watch this curious video of a pyramidal UFO over the Pentagon and make your own opinion. For me, being an expert in visual effects, I give it a 10% of truthness. Okay. 11%. Okay. But I think the video is nice. Who knows, it may be true. Here we are. This is the end. All that was said is only theory. I do not know, but I want to believe it. And if they are Egyptian, but maybe they are full of gold, so please, give little bit. I hope you like this new kind of video from us. I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year 2019. I send you a big kiss and I hope you will find big gifts under the Christmas tree. Stay with family, friends, share your love, enjoy these moments of happiness. Do not hesitate to like the video if you like, to subscribe to a subscription, and we will be back very soon. Open your eyes, look at the sky, and above all, do not forget, and certainly the most important, long life and prosper. Bye bye, bisous.